Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Greg Hosharian, and I'm with EastWest. I'm a composer and conductor from the Los Angeles area, and I'm here to present to you Composer Cloud. Composer Cloud is a subscription-based composer tool with 67 titles and over 40,000 plus instruments. 40,000 instruments right at your fingertips for you to get creative, to create your next film score, your next pop arrangement, or maybe perhaps your next rock song. Before we go on, I'm going to play a piece for you. It's a modern piece with some soul, funk, jazz, pop, and rock. And after we hear the piece, I'm going to break it down and we're going to go through each part individually. Okay, so now after listening to that piece, we could go through it and break it down. And we're going to start right from the beginning. I'm going to shut these here. Go from the beginning and start listening to what's there, and then we'll listen to the individual tracks as well. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is these beautiful voices, and that's coming from the Hollywood Backup Singers. It's a pretty new title to the EastWest Library. I'm gonna solo that instrument so we could take a listen to it one more time. So you hear two parts of what's happening there. The singers are starting really soft and going, and then they're opening up. And I'm going to show you how that was done. That's basically done through the mod wheel. And you could see I painted some mod wheel here in this automation. Okay, so if I put the mod wheel up, you can hear the differences when it's opening and when it's closing. I'm going to actually pull up the instance of play that this belongs to. And that's what the interface looks like with it. And that gives me some nice dynamics, some nice crescendos as well. And with that, I've mixed Voices of Soul. I go back here and I bring our Voices of Soul, and I'm using different phrases from Voices of Soul. So instead of actually playing in the chords, I'm actually hitting a note. I found a phrase that works for this part. So each note that I hit has some different phrases. So I chose a couple phrases that actually work with this in the right key, and then you get both of those together. Now I bounced the MIDI information to audio so I could add some other effects inside of my DAW, and now you could hear, if we just put the Voices of Soul, you could hear all the delay that's happening on top of that. And for this last one, I wanted something even bigger, even greater delay, so I added it onto another track. And that's the first part. So you heard that a couple of times through already. After the voices finish, we jump into the next section, which will be here. Okay, I'm going to stop it there so we could take one part at a time. I start with drums. Let's find our drums. So I have my own instance of play for drums, and if I had percussion, I'd also put that in there as well. And the drums come from Pro Drummer. Now, you could actually click on these drums. Let's find our drum set here, and I could actually play it from my MIDI controller. I like to always play it in because whenever you play it in, it becomes more realistic than just typing in MIDI notes. And then you could go and you could actually tweak it afterwards. So that's my process of putting in those. I wanted something heavy hitting right at the beginning, right after the voices came in. So I thought a nice drum fill, cracking the snare and giving us a nice drum fill across the toms worked the best, and then came in with a nice groove with some ghost notes and other things involved in it. So let's isolate the drums and listen to them. That has a nice fat groove to it. It's ghost note. There. And some nice fills too as well. Okay, so shut those off. Okay, so next I also have bass, guitar. So we'll start with the bass. We're going to go to my rhythm section here. Let's see where our rhythm section is. I'm going to close those up. And I'm going to open up our rhythm section. And the first thing we notice is here is the bass section. So let's take a listen to what the bass is doing. I'll open this up until. So I wanted that sound where it's almost sounding like it's picking. So I used the instrument library Ministry of Rock 2, which has this really beautiful bass in here. I was thinking also, I was experimenting with trying some other things, some other effects inside of it, but I actually left it as it is. I didn't really touch it. I tweaked a little bit of these parameters here, but I didn't really touch much. It's straight out of the box, and it sounds great. It has a great sound to it, especially with the drums. It sounds really nice together with the drums. Let's play those together and see what those sound like. Just bass and drums, just to hear our little rhythm section. So we have those, which has a really nice tone to it, and we add more rhythm section to it. Okay, we add these power chords, these beautiful power chords. So let's take a listen to those. And I don't really do much to that. I add a little bit of amp simulation to it inside of the play engine. I add a little bit of reverb possibly to it, some delays, not too much delay on this part, but just very, very, very slight. And I actually doubled that and added a different guitar as well, and you'll hear this one now. And that just gives us a little bit more energy, so the bass and the drums have some drive to them as well. Besides the drive that they're including, it has something that fills in the chords. So let's listen to those two together now, and see now it's makes a nice rounded sound as well. And then we'll add drums and bass to it as well now. Okay, so let's try it with the drums, and let's try it also with the bass. Let's go in from the fill. So we have drums, bass, and two guitar parts there. Really nice full section so far, but it's not full enough. I want a little bit more. I wanted something else, so I actually added to that. Let's see. Oh, actually it comes into the next section. So it's the same thing, but we're going into the next section. And that next section we add the background singers. And let's pull that up here. So it starts with this. So let's bring that back. Guitar and power chords. And you hear the second time through, the same thing will happen, but we add the background singers. How powerful it becomes. Okay, and then we go into the next section. On top of that, I actually added one more instrument. Let's take a listen to it. And it's a keyboard instrument. Let's go to the keyboards, keys, and it's a Rhodes. So we added a Rhodes as well. We'll take a listen to that too. I'm going to actually turn off my rhythm section so you can just hear the Rhodes by itself. it's not playing as many chords as the bass and the power chords. So it's doing a little bit less, just so there's not so much going on at the same time. I didn't want to overcrowd it as well. Okay, now we put the whole rhythm section together, and then I'll actually show you the melody after that. Okay, so let's put our drum set back. Let's put our rhythm section back. And I think we need to put our... Yes. Okay, so let's put all that back, and let's listen to just the rhythm section, no melody at all. Nice big chorus in the background. It's beautiful. It really just fills in the harmonies. Okay, so there's where we get into the verse. But before we go to the verse section, there's one more element that we haven't talked about, and that's the brass, the pop brass. And we're going to get to that in a second. I'm just going to unmute. I'm going to unmute those or mute those actually. And we're going to go here and we're going to open up our brass and we're going to start listening to these brass phrases. Now, instead of just writing in a brass part, Hollywood pop brass actually has phrases, really, really nice phrases that you could use. And that's what I chose. I chose some phrases that work with this. They're tempo locked as well. So whatever tempo I'm using, you could tempo lock them if you're using 80, if you're using 100, 120, whatever you're using, it works. And those phrases work in different keys too as well, which is really nice. So let's take a listen. That's my first phrase. Same phrase. I do it 3 times actually. And then that wasn't enough. It needs to change at that point. So I added a different phrase here. And then it starts over. Now in between there's actually one more phrase here. So let's take a listen. I added another phrase here. You can see it. Right here. Just to give it a little something in the middle. And then again it starts over. And then the final phrase here. It's like it's climbing up to something else. Okay? And that's this first section. This first A section is here. Now we're going to go to the next section. That's all the instruments here. And then we start building from there. So let's take a listen now with everything together. Now that you know what's going on under the hood, you could see what's happening all together here in this first section, after the introduction, of course. Okay, let's listen to the next part. So we'll stop there. Now you notice that I added a couple things here. One is I brought back the Voices of Soul into this section. But what I did is I took one of the phrases and I took just a little part of it and I chopped it up in my audio, in my DAW. So you could hear that going on there. Let me solo it. And I just did a repeat of it. I copied and paste, copied and paste, copied and paste until I got the desired effect I wanted. And then I let it go here. And that was another phrase. And then I brought this phrase. And that's a phrase that came from the beginning, just to match something from the beginning. And it's really important that you're doing that as a compositional technique too, of course. Okay. Another thing I added in here was also a lead guitar. Let's open up my lead guitar here. And I'm actually going to go to leads. Okay, and we're using Goliath for the lead guitar, which is a really cool patch here. I'm going to actually play it for you. So I'm using a lot of delays, and I'm using a lot of pitch bends as well. Okay, so you can see that it has a really nice tone to it. Guitar players, of course, love to have lots of delays and effects as well. So I added that just to make it have that realistic sound to it. So let's take a listen to just the guitar by itself and what I did with it. Okay, and it goes back to the next section there. And basically, the only other thing that's happening in this section is the groove changes. It's double timed. The bass is double timed. I took out the power chords, and that's basically all that's happening. And we actually add a little bit of organ towards the end of this. So let's go to this section here and take a listen to it. We have the horns, and then the organs are doing a call and response. And let's take a listen to that organ part. Let me take off the lead guitar. Okay, and so you could hear it's doing a call and response again with the horn section. And then we go into the final section of the piece. And this final section, I bring back that beginning section of when the whole band came in after the intro, vocal intro, and lots of drum fills, all kinds of things happening. The leads I continued from the section previous. I continued the organ part, but I started adding leads to that too as well. So you have leads happening from the guitar, and you have leads happening from the organ. Power chords are back in, bass is doing the same thing, power chords are doing the same thing as before. Drums are pretty much doing the same thing except for more fills, additional fills, more things happening. So let's listen to just the guitar lead and the organ and see what's going on with it during this last section. And let's take out our brass instruments for now. And of course, brass is doing the same thing as it did previously before. They're just going crazy, doing some different things. Just soloing away as if a keyboard player and guitar player would do in a live situation. So I was doing that on the keyboard here, and if I show you now with everything going on with the rest of the ensemble, let me play that, and then you could hear that again one more time. Let's go a little bit closer. The brass is doing the same thing, that brass thing. And then this section we bring in Voices of Soul. Take off the organ and the guitar. Let's listen to what the Voices of Soul are doing. And then I brought in that main lick that happened in the beginning, and then again it happened somewhere in the middle. So that way it matches the rest of the song too as well. So let's listen to this last final section, and that's pretty much all that's happening in this piece. You can see all the different combinations that I brought together and some of the things that I matched from before and brought it in back after. And let's take a listen. And let's go from the beginning of that section. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation on EastWest Composer Cloud. Composer Cloud is available as a monthly or yearly subscription. Other options available are Composer Cloud X, which gives you the gold level collections plus an extra mic position. Composer Cloud Plus, which gives you the platinum and diamond collections, plus all mic positions for orchestral, choir, and piano libraries. If you're in education and are a student or teacher, you get an educational discount as well. For more information, please visit soundsonline.com. Thank you for joining me today for this presentation on EastWest Composer Cloud.